Hi, folks. Chris Voss here with a little station break. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We'll resume here in a second. I'd like to invite you to come to my coaching, speaking, and training courses website. You can also see our new podcast over there at chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Over there, you can find all the different stuff that we do for speaking engagements if you'd like to hire me, training courses that we offer, and coaching for leadership, management, entrepreneurism, podcasting, corporate stuff, with over 35 years of experience in business and running companies as CEO. And be sure to check out chrisvossleadershipinstitute.com. Now back to the show. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. Thanks, one and all. Thanks, one and all. We've got an amazing guest on the show today, and close to my own heart for what I was doing in the 90s. And we'll be talking about his amazing new book, the story of his life, et cetera, and all that good stuff. But in the meantime, as always, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. And we're trying to be cool on TikTok, but it's not working. I just realized as I was sitting here behind the screen listening to the intro of the Chris Voss show that it would have been even funnier if somehow we come up with some sort of merging of the original Doom game soundtrack and the Chris Voss show announcer putting off his usual tribe. But no, it's too late for that. We have John Romero on the show with us today. He is the author of his newest book that's out July 18th, 2023, Doom Guy, Life in First Person. He joins us on the show, and you may have heard of him, and if you haven't, most likely, especially if you're as old as I am, you've been playing some of his games and some of his games that were influenced by him as well. John is the computer and video game legend who's designed and published more than 130 games since his first sale at age 16. A teenage programming prodigy, his major accomplishments or achievements included co-inventing a series of revolutionary computer games, Doom, the Doom. I mean, it's not called the Doom, but it's Doom. It's the Doom, but really, technically, I guess there's only one, right? Well, there's actually a few iterations, I think, after that, but there's Doom, and I just boom. So there should be like a whole thing that just drops like boom, Doom. Quake, Wolfenstein 3D, and Commander Keen that launched the industry's most popular genre, the first-person shooter. Welcome to the show, John. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Give us any .coms or wherever you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs.
Romero.com is a great place. And our company is romerogames.com.
There you go. So, John, in the 90s, I spent way too much time playing Doom. I was addicted. I was so addicted, I would play it for 6, 8 hours, maybe 12 hours a day. And I would be pumping so much fight or flight chemicals into my stomach that I would get sick and nauseous, and I would have to stop playing for a while, which I really hated. But I am one of your addicted children, whatever you want to call it, to the game. And, since then, first-person shooters, you've had me addicted to everything that there is that's followed since. But right now, it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare. But welcome to the show, and it's an honor to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about the book.
Yeah, damn you! You know how many hours I wasted on that game? I didn't waste any hours in that game.
There were no wasted hours.
Yeah. What is that old thing about fishing? A man's time spending something he loves is not wasted. So tell us, why did you decide to write this book, I guess?
It was interesting. The beginning, like the idea came from a conference that I went to. A conference I do a lot of speaking at conferences. This one conference told me that they've heard me talk about my games already. And what they wanted was my life. What did I do before the games? Like, where did I come from? Like, where did I learn how to do this? And so I did. I wrote this talk, and people were really surprised at the talk because I talked about my life before getting into games, which was in a really poor area of Tucson, Arizona, and my family, was involved in drugs and alcohol and some deaths, and And it was just like people went, whoa. And they said, this really should be in a book. Like, you should write this down. And when I thought about it, eventually it sounded like a good idea because I'm a game historian. And I believe that game history is important to get the times, the dates, who the credits, all that stuff down, in some kind of format where people could use it for research. And I'm a game historian, so I've really researched a lot of game history. And I thought, this could be like a story of my life and my games, but also a game history book for people that want to know when did you start working on Doom exactly, and when did you finish working on the editor, and when did you ship the game, and all these details. And so I can put all of that stuff in this book for every game I've made. And it turned out like that was good. It was a good idea.
Yeah, I remember my biggest nemesis was getting into the third room on Doom, because that dude would be on the ledge and he just throw shit at you, and I had the hardest time clearing that room and making that thing. But I don't know what I can say about that. So you go through and tell the story of your history and what got you into Doom, and kind of some of the influences. Give us kind of a 30-foot overview of some of the things or teasers people might find in there.
Well, the early stages of my life, which started in Tucson, Arizona, and eventually moved to Rockland, California, and that's when I found computers. Basically, I was already very much into arcade games, playing arcade games as much as I could, and then I found the computer at the local college lab in my town when I was 11. So I went into the lab when I was 11 and taught myself how to code on the computer there. And then went to every store in town and learned how to code. And then I started making games, and I made lots and lots of games, at least 60 games, before I started id Software in 1990. And that was when we became a team and we started making really fun games. And we created the first person shooter genre with Wolfenstein, and Doom really refined it. And then Quake took it to the next level, full 3D internet gameplay, mouse look, using the mouse to look all around your environment. Mm-hmm. That was Quake. And then after I left, after Quake, when I left id, started a company called Ion Storm, which eventually produced Deus Ex, which ended up being a pretty great game. And then I went from one new idea to the next one with mobile phone development and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, the really high level story is that when I was a kid, I just wanted to do nothing but make games all day, and I was really lucky enough to just do that.
Wow. I tried doing that with the Commodore 64 when we were kids. We used to get a magazine. It was a little PC magazine. It would have it would have the coding pages in there. But
Compute.
Yeah, it was probably Compute. And so we'd sit there, me and my brother and I, and we type in 16 pages of code to make I don't know, Pong. And
yeah,
if you had one digit off, man, that thing was not going to
forget it.
Or sometimes
I wrote a bunch of games like that.
Did you? And I think
published in magazines.
Sometimes they I think they left something out later in the issue. They're yeah, we forgot the Q part. And we're that's why that damn thing didn't work. So what was your first computer?
The first computer I got was an Apple II Plus computer in 1982 was when we got that. I'd been programming for about 3 years in any store that had a computer. Radio Shack had TRS-80s, and other places had Atari 800s, and there was one store that had Apple IIs. And I would just go to all of these stores just practicing BASIC until we finally got one in 82 at the house, and then I was done going outside.
You were a man on a mission. Now, I think I see an Apple behind you, don't I? Or what do I see behind you?
Yeah, that's an Apple II Plus.
So is that your original first one?
That's not my original. The original one is in a museum in New York. It's called the Strong Museum of Play. But that is basically it's the same model. It's it is the Apple II Plus model versus the 2E and 2C and the other ones. But that's the one I started on, the same model.
Did you have the parents that were hey, son, you need to go to school, you need to get a job, you need to go to college? I don't think this gaming thing's going to work out for you. It's when Led Zeppelin's parents said to him, this guitar thing, man, I don't think it's really going to go anywhere and make any money. Did you have those kind of parents, or what was that about?
They definitely did not want me going into any kind of game stuff. They knew that I could code, and they were hoping to steer me into like business programming. Mm-hmm. But I love games too much, and like I would go to the arcade all the time, and then they told me not to go, and I still went and got my face smashed into an arcade machine when they found me there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I was gonna ask you about Doom, like who hurt you, but now I know. I guess.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, all the blood and gore in the game. Yeah, I grew up like you did. I think I was probably 12. I'm assuming I grew up like you did. Let's put it that way. I think I was about 12 when video games came out, and they were arcades. You could go there and
hell yeah,
And I lived in Utah, and all the Mormon religious elders were like, "Video games are Satan." And then you create Doom and prove them right, I suppose, technically, because there's a lot.
What year were you in Utah?
Salt Lake? I was about 12 or 11. I was in American Fork, Utah, which is about 30 miles south of Salt Lake City. It's like moving.
I lived in Salt Lake.
Did you? I'm sorry. It's like moving to an even lower part of hell. Do you remember Provo?
Yeah. I went to see Dio and Yngwie Malmsteen in Provo.
There you go. I went to Dio's.
That's right.
Yeah, in Provo. He came to Provo. God damn, man. Yeah, we're old, my friend.
85, 86. Yep.
Yeah. And so you asked me a question. I think I answered it. Did I? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
My life is flashing before my eyes. You're naming all these references that I'm like. But yeah, so I remember going to those. So your parents weren't quite happy with you when you went into the arcade there.
Yeah. It was at some point I was banned from the arcade.
Was it just because you were spending too much time, or was it, like for me, it was the religious elders didn't like it.
Oh yeah, no, they just didn't understand games. They didn't know that like that play was my practice for what I was going to do. They didn't. Mm-hmm. They just saw it as a time waster and a money waster. To me, it was like the world. It was my new world.
But it sounds like you had a vision. It sounds like you had a vision early on for what you wanted to do. You weren't just like playing games.
Yeah, I was making them. It's interesting because if you saw me at my computer at home, half the time I was playing games. I was playing them to just like see the techniques, to have fun, but really to see the graphic techniques of getting pixels on the screen, to see what kind of game design ideas these games had, and try to come up with my own. And then I would be coding half the time. I'm sitting there listening to Black Sabbath or Judas Priest or whatever, and I'm sitting there coding, in assembly language all day long, trying to make games.
There you go. Now, the one thing about Doom is there is a lot of satanic influences there. I know that because I once studied Satanism after leaving the Mormon Church and Aleister Crowley and different things, nice. And I'm probably going to hell, but I mean, at least that's where all the Dio and cool bands will be. So Black Sabbath you mentioned and stuff like that, did that maybe inspire some of the imagery you used in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to tons of metal. It was all 80s metal.
Oh yeah.
Ozzy, everything that you heard in the 80s, I listened to all of it, and it was great. I mean, it was in the game, like playing Doom. Doom is about you shooting demons. Yeah. So what's bad about that? Like, I don't see anything bad. And if there's satanic imagery, well, what do you expect to find in hell?
That's true.
It all makes sense, right?
Yeah. If I recall,
you're shooting demons.
There was like pumping guts and lots of blood, lots of blood.
Yeah.
It was great. So you'd made Wolfenstein. Now, was Wolfenstein a really big hit, or did Doom just really eclipse that?
Wolfenstein was massive when it came out. And it was based on a beloved game that was 10 years older, like say 11 years prior. A game called Castle Wolfenstein came out in 81, and it was a massive hit on 8-bit computers at the time. And we all edited software. There's only 4 of us. We played the hell out of that game 10 years prior, right? So when we were sitting there making our games. We're making Wolfenstein. It was like, let's make a 3D version of that game, and everybody knew, holy crap, that's amazing. And so we did Wolfenstein, and that game made tons of money. Like we made it made so much money, and like we're like poor kids, right? Two of us were from poverty, two of us were from like normal backgrounds, and checks are just coming in. Wolfenstein made $250K the first month. It was massive. Yeah. So we're just like, all right, we're doing the right thing here. Keep it going. We bought stuff for our families. We bought cars for people. Like we're pretty generous with our money.
There you go. So, I mean, were you guys programming to, make a hit, or were you just kind of like, we're just kind of doing whatever the fuck we want and we enjoy?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. We're trying to make the best games. And after Wolfenstein, it was like we wanted to make a new 3D game, like after our side-scrolling arcade, Mario style games called Command & Keen. And so when I pivoted us, I said we need to start making 3D games like Catacomb 3D, which was a game we had just made. But like, let's use guns and let's make Wolfenstein in 3D. And so we all immediately went, oh my God, that's the right idea. And we all pivoted immediately and defined this new kind of game that we now call a shooter, an FPS. And it was just to make a really great game. And after Wolfenstein, we made Spear of Destiny, which was a prequel to it. Then we were gearing up for our next game, which was going to be Doom. And we, at the very, very beginning, we said, this needs to be the best game that we can imagine playing. Wow. Like, what features would go in this game that would make it the best thing that Earth has ever seen? And so we made a list. And one of those things on the list was multiplayer, because no one had played like any high-speed multiplayer game. There wasn't any. So Doom was deathmatch. It was the invention of the word deathmatch. It was the invention of the gameplay of deathmatch. Speedrunning started with Doom. Modding games starting with Doom.
Oh, yeah.
We were licensing the engines to other companies so they could make games using our technology. It was shareware, free. First episode free. The others you can buy if you like them. It was just one thing after another that we just threw all of that in that game.
It was crazy. Did you guys have to get funding anywhere through the process, or did it start out with just seed money and sweat equity and on from there?
It was all sweat equity. We had no loans for anything in our whole history. Every time we made a game, if it did well, we would be secure for a while and just make game after game after game until the games just get bigger and bigger and the money comes in, it's bigger, and we just keep on putting it in the bank in the company account, buy better computers, get into a nicer office, keep on coding, keep on making games. That's what we did.
Wow. I mean, that's the ultimate entrepreneur story, because entrepreneurs, that's what they do. Usually they find something or a problem that they can't fix or resolve, or they like doing. They're like, hey, I can make a better, I don't know, cinnamon bun, right? Or staple or paperclip. And they go, hey, I can do this better. This is a piece of shit. I'll make this better. And they do it. And then they're like, hey, people really like this bullshit I'm doing. And cool. Let them do it too. And that's the real proponent of it. And the love of what you do is like so important, and being passionate about it. You ever get burnt out on playing video games?
Not really. I love games. The thing is, there's so many better games nowadays. You can just live in these games.
Yeah.
Worlds.
What's your favorite game to play right now? I think that would be interesting to people.
Geez. There's a bunch of different kinds of games. Like if I just want to take time making, if I just don't want to hurry and speed up through stuff, I'll play like Wordle, or I'll play Drop 7, which are just turn-based games. Really simple. But like I play shooters. I love playing shooters. And I play Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's a game I've liked for years now. The whole Ghost Recon series has been really great. Minecraft was huge. We still have family Minecraft realms running. So
really?
The kids are older now, but we all jump in to play a game. The new Zelda is going to be amazing. I can't wait to play it. I love Breath of the Wild. But yeah, tons of game, every kind of game. I don't just stick with just shooters. I've been playing Stacklands. which is a pretty cool card-based D&D kind of game. Yeah, there's an unlimited amount of games out there. It's just pretty nuts.
Yeah. What's it like to sit there and play a first-person shooter and be like, I invented this shit?
I know, isn't it funny? I didn't even think about it. I just think about like what they're doing with the form and how they're changing it. Like I really love Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5. It's a really, really great game. But yeah, I just like what people are doing with it. Overwatch 2, you name it. I play it and check it out and see what's different about it. And there's so many splintered genres now. There's like Rainbow Six, with the tactical shooters. There's hero shooters, Leo, like Overwatch 2, Valorant, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing all the different stuff they can do. And then there's a shooter where you build a fucking house to protect yourself from people shooting you, which I played that game and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, no, great. It's a popular with the kids. So what do I know?
Rust. You play Rust?
I haven't played Rust. I've seen the videos. There's like a lot of TikTok videos on it, and it's kind of interesting. Yep. I don't know if Destiny was the one who pioneered this, but I think they were one of the first to allow people to share their music and social media and video clips, I think, online or encourage it or something.
That's pretty cool.
And I believe it led to the popularity of the game and the blow up of the game. Because I remember back in the day, they would shut them down on YouTube if you posted a video gameplay because it had the music on it and stuff. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not. So there's some different things that people are going to find out in this book. You created the term deathmatch. You posed as a soldier on the famous cover of Doom. So there you go. Everyone's pretty much seen you and knows you now. And then there's an interesting tidbit here. You became an accidental professional gamer in your own game, and you've lost one time in a one-on-one in 12 years. Is that true? And which game is it?
Yeah, it's Doom, and a lot of times I speak at conferences, and when I go to these conferences, many times they want to do a Doom deathmatch where anyone from the conference will challenge me and sit on the other computer, and I will deathmatch them. And sometimes, depending on where we're at, they'll just have heavy metal playing while we're just like going crazy deathmatching. And it's just super fun for the whole crowd to just watch this crazy violence, metal's blasting, people are losing, and someone else jumps in there just like for hours. It's really crazy.
This has got to be the ultimate challenge. I've never thought of that. I need to play the master.
Yeah, I started, the funny thing, I did that at GDC in 2013 for the first time, where I had a row of laptops, and I was on the last laptop, and any game developer, this is a game development conference, any game developer can come up to a laptop and enter the death match, and whoever won out of those, I think it was four laptops, whoever won would then play me one-on-one right after that. And I'm just standing there too. But it was really fun, and then eventually it gets on the stage, and there's huge speakers and sound systems and giant video screens and all that. So that's what happens with Doom. It wasn't intentional. It just happened because it got to be a thing that people would request.
There's a lot of shit talking in, I play a lot of Modern Warfare 2, whatchamacallit. There's a lot of shit talking when you kill people and you lose battles and stuff like that. They'll call you like noob or there's probably a lot of words we can't say on air.
Yeah.
But they'll call you what's the old scrub is like a good one. That seems to piss people off. You ever be playing Doom or anything, one of your games with people, and they don't know who you are because you're just over comms and they start shit talking you like you're just some scrub player, and you're just like, I made this fucking game.
It usually happens in person. If I'm deathmatching people, really? It's usually like in the same room.
Wow.
And they know it, and like back in the day, I would scream. I still do. Like I play Quake deathmatch with people at the office, and just I say so much stuff that it gets written on a chair. We call it the swear chair.
Oh.
So all the stupid stuff that I say gets written down on this chair. It's covered in horrible things. But I remember like I was playing and I was just screaming, and my son was at the office, and he was playing, and he had his headset on, and people could hear me screaming, and they basically wanted to like have an intervention, just like, dude, are you okay? Like, you know, it sounds like at home you got some like problems going on. Like, you have like a problem with your home life. And he's like, oh no, that's my stepdad. He's just death matching. He's screaming at somebody.
He made fucking Doom.
Yeah.
And maybe you invented that genre of shit talking. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of shit talking that goes on in the thing. I mean, people just rage, man. They just rage.
No, yeah. Like, they do that in hockey. Sports.
That's true.
People
I guess sports, yeah.
There's trash talking in sports for decades or 100 years.
Yeah. I guess Muhammad Ali used to shit talk too. So I mean, yeah,
that's right.
It's kind of a man thing.
It's endemic to sports.
There you go. And one thing that's interesting about people is you're known for your long hair, but it's connected to your heritage. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, on both sides of my family. On my father's side, I'm Yaqui from the Yaqui tribe in Arizona, and before that, the Aztecs.
Oh,
and
wow.
on my mother's side, my great grandmother was full Cherokee.
Oh, wow.
And so I have this from both sides. And I grew up Mexican in Arizona, in the barrio, and you know, everyone was speaking Spanglish, and there was Mexican food all day, and and right near us, like 5 minute, not even a 5 minute drive, is the Yaqui Reservation, and you know, we would go there all the time.
Mm-hmm. And you're one of the most influential
Nice
indigenous. I was mixing indigenous and influential, evidently. It's been one of those days. Influential, indigenous, and Latino technologists and game developers. So that's a nice honor to have.
Yeah, I didn't plan it. It just ended up. You know, it's amazing. I am I'm very proud of my indigenous heritage, and you know, now more than ever, people are paying attention to it, and they you know, when I was a kid, I wish I had seen somebody like me in the game industry or whatever to look up to. So, you know, it's good. I've heard stories of kids who really found courage because they saw that I had gone there before them into game development, and it kind of gave them the courage to jump into it and see what it was like. So
that leads me to my next question I had for you. You probably inspired tens of thousands, maybe, I don't know, millions of game developers. I mean, there's so many game developers it takes to code a game now, especially a big one. You know, I mean, what did it take Destiny 10 years to be made or something like that? I know there's just crazy amount of, you know, stuff that's on Call of Duty and so you probably inspire a lot of people, man, to get into the business and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of you to say that, and it's and it is. I mean, I was inspired by my programming heroes just to see what they did, and just like, that's possible. I should be able to do that. If someone else can do it, why can't I? You know, that was always my thought process around it, and you know, I think this book is really great about showing people that they can do it. They can do what they want to do. If I can do it, anyone can. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not difficult, but you just need the time and the focus to do it. But anyone can. And I think the book is good about really relating to people, you know, what I went through to get to where I'm at, to make the games I wanted to make. And so, you know, there was that. There's also just the idea that, we've always, as a company, when we were making these games, making Doom and Wolfenstein, we were very into giving people information that they needed. If they needed technical information about programming anything, we gave them that information. And eventually we put our source code out on the internet for everyone to see how we wrote Doom. Like, here's our Doom source code.
Wow.
Go through it and learn, you know. We opened our games up so people could modify them and have fun creating in our game to make it look like something completely different. Whatever they could dream up, they can use our game as a basis to do that. So they didn't need to learn how to program and, you know, how to create technology. They just could have the ideas and easily make those things happen through level design and creating new sound effects and stuff like that. That was a lot easier than programming. So modding was a big part of what we did to help people create and basically get into the game industry.
I think I did modding on the game and stuff like that eventually. There was like different mods you could like download off of boards or something like that. What was it like to see Doom get kind of reinvented like on mobile? I remember some guy ported it to mobile or something happened, and I guess the basic, you know, Doom game was small enough to, you know, make it onto mobile devices. And what was it like to see kind of the resurgence and the you know, it's kind of like one of those bands like Black Sabbath or something where, you know, you have the old music and then the new generation finds it and goes, fuck yeah, and then it's
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, luckily we did make the game moddable because it never went away because of the mods. Like,
yeah,
that community is so strong. It's been 30 years, which is really incredible. But yeah, the Doom community is basically the best community out there. It's just incredible. And the resurgence of the new Dooms, you know, starting with the 2016 reinvention of Doom for modern audiences on consoles and PCs was huge. And then Doom Eternal coming out after that, a few years after that, was really huge, right? Massive. And Doom is so small nowadays with computing power and the source that we put out there that Doom runs on a pregnancy stick.
Holy crap. And you can check and see if you're pregnant too.
You know, inside your PC, there's a cooler on top of your chip to keep it cool.
Yeah.
Those coolers now come with screens, and now Doom runs on a cooler chip screen.
And it's still popular than ever. I mean, you can order all the different versions on Steam. I remember when Doom 2 came out, I was really excited about that. That was awesome. And yeah, dude, I played the shit out of that game. I was obsessed with it. And I probably should have been working on my companies, but it was such a great relief. But there was some I played it for a couple years, and then one day I just started getting sick from the fight or flight chemicals being pumped in my stomach, and I would have to stop for a while. And I'm like, holy shit, what is it? What do I have to do? And then I started drinking. That fixed it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
one thing we want to talk about is recently you did something for Ukraine, the Ukraine. Tell us about this project that helps the Ukraine relief funds.
Yeah, so I made a new episode of Doom in 2018 and shipped it in 2019. So it's episode 5. After 25 years, I finally made another set of Doom levels, and people really liked it. It was called Sigil. And then people were expecting me to make the next version of Doom, which would say Doom 2, a new Doom 2 release. So as I started working on that, the first, one of the levels that I made for the Doom 2 release, I when the attack happened, when Russia attacked, and they, Ukraine really needed needed relief, and I had actually spoken in Kiev before, and just love the Ukrainian people. Met lots of great people there, and I wanted to just do something to help them out. We decided to take that level out of Sigil 2 and to release it, and to release this level out there to raise money for Ukraine Red Cross relief, and so we raised over $40,000 with the level that we just put out there for that.
That is awesome. I mean, it's just such a great thing. That's the other wonderful thing about being an entrepreneur. You can work on what you're passionate about, build what you love, and if you build something great, other people will love it, and then you can give back. So that's one of the beautiful things about success in that format. And it's funny too. I mean, you're probably help responsible for gaming competition, e-gaming. I remember, my parents used to tell us, and of course other kids, they'd be like, "Hey, this gaming's you're never going to be able to job and get paid doing this crap." So quit doing all this gaming, and then like e-gaming came up, and parents were like, "Oh shit, that bad."
Yeah, esports. Yeah, it's funny. Our games were the first games used in esports. Actually, beginning with Doom. When Doom came out, while we're making Doom 2, there were deathmatch tournaments taking place with prizes and everything. And and so there were several conventions start around Doom 2. And then when Quake came out, that transformed everything because now it's over the internet, it's full 3D, the game is more intense, and that really, like, esports is all about really intense gameplay, and Quake delivered that. So esports really took off with Quake, and then with the success of our game and our licensing strategy of our engine, that's where we get Counter-Strike, right? Because Counter-Strike was a mod of Half-Life. Half-Life was made from the Quake tech. So Counter-Strike comes out, that becomes a major esports title for a long time before League of Legends ever came around. So Counter-Strike was like the de facto esports title before League of Legends came out. And it was huge, and that's what really propelled esports beyond our first games that started esports. Because Quake was so moddable, you could do a ton of stuff that esports tournaments require, like those new camera positions, being able to follow players, and all those cool things that you see in football on TV. You could do that with Quake, and that's what really started making esports more like real sports.
Yeah. Do you get into VR at all? I think we talked about that in the green room. What's your thoughts on VR? Does it excite you or motivate you at all?
Yeah, VR. See, the way I look at VR is it's a console like an Xbox, like a PS5. It's just a different way of playing games that are different than the usual. So when a game has been designed specifically for VR, it is excellent in VR, and it's really effective. Like if you've played Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, like that game is so scary when you're in it and you're walking slowly through a derelict mansion in the dark. It's terrifying in VR. It's everything around you is that whole environment, and it's like it's nuts. So it is. It's really intense, and so yeah, VR can really deliver a different environment than what you're used to on a flat screen.
There you go.
But yeah, it's it's another console.
This is kind of interesting too, because Apple today is evidently launching, and I'm seeing the pictures go by here. So evidently they did do it, because it's been, it's been rumored every year, and every year it doesn't show up. But it looks like they did finally do it. So, so it looks like they've launched some sort of thing. I can't really spend the time looking at it, but live they're doing the WWDC 23. For those of you watching 10 years from now, they're doing that live right now, and it looks like they have launched it. So it's what do you think? Do you think Apple can break through? I mean, VR has kind of struggled. There's Oculus and stuff like that. Do you think you're an Apple fan? You began on that. Do you think that
I'm
Apple
a huge Apple fan?
Can Apple make this the it does that with everything. It did that with podcasting. Podcasting was almost dead. And then suddenly they stepped in, and I was like, why are people downloading the podcast? What's going on? We haven't put in new episodes up for like a year or two. What the fuck is going on? And Apple's like, we just fucking decided to do whatever we wanted. Do you think they can punch through? Can they make these things where everyone wants one now?
I'm not sure. I hope so. Apple has been thinking about a solution to this. They introduced ARKit years ago, and they knew that AR was actually going to be the clear winner in like the mixed reality technology race. And so they released an AR kit, and this headset that they're releasing is also an AR style kit, and it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really interested. I can't wait to watch the videos, because I haven't seen anything about the release. But what I know is that the front of the VR type, that even though you can see through it, you can see your world with AR overlaid on it. When you're looking at someone wearing it, there's a face projection on the outside. So there's a screen on the outside to show your eyes and everything.
Oh, really? Wow.
That's what I heard.
I'm going to get one, so that when I'm looking at people that I really hate or that ugly, it'll change their face. We call it beer goggles. I think that's
Yeah.
maybe that will become popular. But no,
That's a good mod. Yeah.
how so if Apple does kick ass at this, how pissed off do you think Mark Zuckerberg will be?
Well, you know, as a business leader, I think he'll pivot pretty quickly.
Yeah,
if it's successful.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. Yeah, he should be able to keep affording at least 2 cars in a garage.
Yeah.
But Apple's kind of really good at that, where the pioneer gets all the arrows. So they just kind of sat back and watched Mark and the Oculus and all the other stuff and the metaverse, which seems to be kind of a failure. And they just kind of hopefully went, well, maybe we can do something better. And plus, they have such a rabid fan base of people that love their products. And then there's probably one more service you have to pay for every month now, on top of the other 500 that they offer.
Well, I think they recently introduced Oculus 3 as well, like the Meta 3.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a new thing out. Apple now is putting their thing out. I still am not sure. Like internally at Apple, there was a lot of contention about whether they should even go in this direction or not. So It's not like Apple's fully 100% behind it. So it's kind of a look and see kind of situation with this.
And I think it's still going to be expensive. I didn't see any prices yet, but I think it's supposed to be expensive from what I understand. And that might be still the
console.
Yeah. I mean,
you
have to look at it and be like, which of the kids do we sell so that we can get this?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Sit in VR all day.
There you go. Well, we could top shop all day long, and thank you for ruining my life.
You're welcome.
I was supposed to write a book 10 years ago, and it took me 10 years to write it. And part of it was because I got hooked on Destiny and console games.
All right, good job.
I think now on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I'm somewhere around, let's see, I'm pathetically at 1,193.9 hours on Modern Warfare 2.
Wow.
So I have some issues. Well, I'm single. I don't have a wife and kids because I can only afford to play video games pretty much. But video games never divorce me and take half my shit. So
that's right.
Where I'm at with that. So lastly, what do you hope people come away from in your book? What do you hope you accomplish?
Really that people see it as a positive book, that they see that people can see that they can do it, because it's a blueprint for how to do this. It's like, here's all the steps. No matter where anyone comes from, they can follow those steps and do the same thing. If they have a dream, they can achieve it, and they can see that, like, really what it just takes is focus and determination. And for people that really care about game history, I really put down everything that I could remember about those games. So maybe that'll help somebody in their path. But really, there's just a lot of gratitude for everything that I was able to experience during that time. And I think people will come through reading the book with, like, wow, there's a lot of reflection on how I could have done things better and what I did wrong. And but yeah, lots of gratitude. I wanted to make games all my life, and I got to do that, and it's just been great.
There you go. What a life, man. You do what you love, you build what you love, you give back. I think it's inspiring. It's a great story for just any entrepreneur too, as well. Has anyone ever done like a genealogy pedigraph or pedigree, I think they call them, where they show, which games were inspired or came out of engines of other games, and like a giant pedigree thing? Someone should do that.
Yeah, there is one for the Quake engine. There's there's a pretty great one for Quake. There's so many games, coming out of that. But yeah, I don't know if there's a full all of id Software's impact, like the Doom games and then the Quake games. There is a Quake one, but not the other ones. But yeah, you never know. Maybe someone will do that.
I remember sitting in the Atari when I was like 10 or 11 years old. My parents couldn't afford it. They could afford a Commodore. But my friends had an Atari because I guess their parents were ultra rich or something. And that Pong thing was so great. We were just like, fucking Pong. And even now it's kind of fun. So there you go. So I'm probably going to play some Doom after this and buy some of the games off the thing. So you've inspired me and
Awesome.
go back to my original. There was no game I played like that before. And of course, clearly I'm still playing those sort of games. But thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it, John.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the support. And yeah, it's really great.
There you go. Give us your .coms wherever you want people to find you on the internet, please.
Romero.com. That's where you can get all kinds of cool merch. And RomeroGames.com, which is our game company.
There you go. Check it out, folks. Wherever fine books are sold, it comes out July 18th, 2023. Doom Guy, Life in First Person. It's been wonderful to have him on and meet the guy who, God, what was that, the 90s? How old was I? My 20s or something?
It was 93 when Doom came out.
I'm 55 now, so wow. But you know what? A man, whatever a man does, I can't get the quote right off my top of my head, but whatever a man does that he enjoys in life is not taken away from the quality of his life. So there you go. It's kind of like fishing. I think it's a fishing quote. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.